Today's video is 10 things I really wish I would have known about aquatic plants before starting. And I'm going to warn you, these things are kind of random. Welcome back to the Small Scape. Yes, today we are talking aquatic plants and a few things I really wish I would have known. Before we get started, leave your suggestions down below. You guys always have really great suggestions. And hopefully this video helps whether or not you're brand new to aquascaping, you haven't started aquascaping with aquatic plants, or you've done it for some time. Hopefully these tips will be somewhat helpful. The first three I'm going to start off with are super general and they're more helpful to people who have not started at all, but let's get them over with. So I'm going to go through them very, very quickly. Number one is basically there are three different types of aquatic plants. There are ones that you plant into the substrate, like you would out in the garden, and then number two is the type that you attach. So that's like ANUBIAS or BUS that you either tie onto hardscaping, or you can glue it with super glue. Yes, that's safe. And then there's the third type, which you float, like floating plants that float at the surface. And some plants you can do a combination, so that's usually simple to find out if you Google the specific plant that you're looking at. But the three types, planting, attaching, or floating. Point number two is, yes, you can plant aquatic plants into sand or gravel. I know, it just doesn't sound right, but it is true. You can plant them directly into sand or gravel. There's a third option, it's aquatic soil. They do sell that. You can use a combination of any of those three as well, and that's for other videos, but those are your three options for planting your aquatic plants. Number three is fertilizers. You may be curious, how do you fertilize your aquatic plants? Just like you would out in the garden. Depends on what type of plants you have. The ones that you plant into the substrate, you would want to fertilize the substrate, which would be with root tabs that are sold, or you can make them yourself, or aquatic soil can be used either by itself or under sand or gravel. Or if you have plants that you're attaching or floating, so they are the roots are above the substrate, so they're getting their nutrients from the water column, you would use a liquid fertilizer that you really just squirt in every once in a while, and that fertilizes the water column. Now that we have the generals over with, let's start with point number four, and this I really wish I would have known because this relates to my favorite aquatic plant, and that is ANUBIAS. Number four is don't float ANUBIAS. Here's a little blob of ANUBIAS. It's so pretty. The leaves are generally going in the same direction. They're kind of building upon each other, and that's how the plant grows. The rhizome just continues to grow, and then the leaves pop out from the rhizome. If you float ANUBIAS, however the plant is laying is how the leaves will come out. They will probably come out of the back of the rhizome. They'll just look, it just doesn't look very tidy, and they just won't look as pretty. So don't float your ANUBIAS. The leaves turn out kind of wonky. Number five also has to do with ANUBIAS. I really wish I would have known. Say you do float your ANUBIAS, or you get a plant and it comes out of the tube that you get at Petco or PetSmart, and one leaf just doesn't look right, and you say, dang it, I just spent all that money and I don't even like the plant. Guess what you can do? You can just pop off that leaf. As long as there are a couple roots, maybe a leaf or two, you can pop off that leaf and it'll just regenerate another one. You just want to pop it off at the base of the rhizome, just kind of snap it off, and it'll regrow another one. No big deal. Number six, there are three plants that I think you should be careful with. Just something to note: Subwassertang, Riccia, and Hornwort. Just keep it in mind. It all depends on your tank. Some people have certain experience with it, other people do not. Just something to keep in the back of your mind. Subwassertang does really great in that tank. I just had a blob of it. I kind of wedged it into a couple pieces of driftwood. It works out just wonderful. I have it in other tanks downstairs where it just split apart and it floats all around the tank because Suppository tank is just a bunch of little, so is Ricky, a bunch of little pieces that kind of mound on each other. When it behaves and when it does not behave, it will float all around your tank and make a mess. Keep it in mind. If you keep the plant, maybe try it out in a small portion, see if it's behaving. Also hornwort. My hornwort does really, it does just fine in my tanks, but some people do have an issue when they put it in their tanks. The little needles just fall off, die, and turn brown and make a mess on the bottom of your tank. So if you do try any of these plants and you never have before, just try a smaller portion and see if it makes a mess, or make sure that you like it before you get a whole bunch of it. Number 7, I just thought I would include this because a lot of us took a while to keep aquatic plants. If you were like me, I was really nervous to do it for quite some time. If you are, and you still have not had the courage to try aquatic plants, there's 2 that I think you should try. You could try the moss ball. It's really great. It's like a little pet. Super cute, really simple, really easy. You basically don't do anything with it. And I keep it in a jar of water and it does just fine. I don't add fertilizer. There's no water flow in there, nothing. No tech, zippo, zilch. It sits on the windowsill along with a little jar of Java moss. It's equally as super simple as it possibly could get. Maybe try out those 2 aquatic plants if you still are not sure, and then maybe you'll get a little bit more confidence and you can venture on to other plants like ANUBIAS. Number 8, this is a really random fact, but I thought I would include it because this explains why my Val didn't do very well at first. Vallisneria is a great plant. There's a number of different kinds. There's Italian Val, Jungle Val, Corkscrew Val is my favorite. It's beautiful, and it will grow via runners underneath your substrate. So this is another plant that you can get a lot from a very little, and it will really give you a lot of plants for your money. But don't put the base of the plant too far under the substrate. You want it just at substrate level. Don't put it too far down into the substrate because it won't like it and it will die. I just thought I would include that. Now for the last 2, I'm going to go back to general, kind of random thoughts, but I think you should know. Number 9, just because a plant is labeled either easy or beginner, or for that matter, intermediate or advanced, does not mean that you will or will not have success with it. So don't get frustrated if you have a easy plant. Java fern, for me, is an easy plant. Everybody loves it except for me. It just doesn't do well. We don't get along. I don't like it. It doesn't like me. And I know that. And I try not to get frustrated because I can't keep it. I just move on to a different plant. And I like those other plants better. And the same thing goes with maybe an intermediate plant. If you want to give it a shot, give it a shot. See how it does. Do your research, which leads me to number 10. Always do your research, and it's super simple to do research. You can Google, as long as you know your water. I highly recommend that you know your water, if it's hard water or soft water. Those 2 things will help you out immensely with your success in aquatic plant land. And once you know that, you can Google ANUBIAS hard water. Say you have hard water, just do a search like that, ANUBIAS hard water, or ANUBIAS low flow, high flow. If you have a lot of flow in your tank or very little flow in your tank, that also could contribute to the demise or success of your aquatic plants. Like floating plants do not like high flow because they just won't propagate very well. They don't generally tend to like it. Things like that can be very easily figured out if you just do a simple Google search. Also, if you have access to a fish club, we're always pushing fish clubs. They're super helpful when you want to keep aquatic plants. You go to your local fish club if they're doing a swap, and you know that you have very similar water to the people who are selling at your swap, probably because they're probably in your area, and if they have success, chances are that will increase your success as well. And they're really good sources of information as well. So I hope that those tips are somewhat helpful for you, especially if you are brand new or somewhat new to the aquatic plant world. Don't forget to leave your suggestions down below. Let me know what I forgot, what you would like to share, and I'll see you in the next one.